So now we are hitting to 12. So what is 13? Where did I put my 13? I put my 13 on X, but it could also be U depending on which one you want to take advantage of. I personally don't have a problem picking up Death's Breath myself in the beginning because I am not a speedster in the beginning. I only speed up later on when I have enough Death's Breath that I actually don't need to click, but I click it anyway, right? So for me personally, the letter U can come later. I don't have to play that first. I actually prefer X, and I love that X is actually there. X says pets pick up and salvage common, magic, and rare items. I actually like that. And I want to talk about that as well. For X, right? What is so good about X? Well, if you're careful enough with X, okay, depending on the time that you want to use X. So when is it really good for X? Is when you get Battlefield of Eternity for regular Rift or the Forest Winding Cave. That is the best time to get X or even Jail, for example. So there are like 3 or 4 maps that are really good for X, especially if you pick up blues. So my my style of regular rifting, eventually, when you have a T16 farming key farming build already, right? For me, X is like me picking up blue items because blue is like 3 arcane dust, whereas rare is 1 for 1. And that is why I pick up like belts and rings and amulets as best I can based on the names. So X to me is higher than the letter U because U I can pick up the stuff my own time, whereas X saves me inventory space, which means I'm going to get more and more stuff if I prioritize picking up blues even faster. And I already said that X is good for Battlefield of Eternity where you click the armor racks. So I would prefer X before U. But depending on people's habits, you know, now what does U help with? U helps with the sages stuff. So U has that value to it. But then if we think about sages though, sages makes the death breath easier to click because there's more per drop. So clicking, I don't see a problem about why we want letter U before X. I prefer X before U. Okay? So now we go to 14. The only problem now is that they said that you can't backtrack, which I am not certain about backtracking like way after the fact versus the straight order. So, you know, like in the actual order, a numbered order, I think the numbered order should be going downwards or in the same line, right? But when it comes to um, when you already hit like the last level, like 3 of the last level, right? So this is where like it's a talent tree issue. If you cannot go backwards, then it's not going to be easy to get to 14. But what can you choose for 14? And I chose M. And so what is M? M is double the amount of death's breath that drops. So now we have sages upon with M. So that's why I chose that to be 14, because now X and M are like super valuable while you key farm. Even though U is really helpful. So that's why U could be alternated with X. But I think that if you can't click for U, you're going to have problems for certain builds where you're manually clicking stuff anyway, targeting. For example, Frenzy Barb. If you can't play the letter U on your for yourself, you're going to have a hard time playing Frenzy Barb, for example. So letter U is really lazy, honestly speaking, until later. So later on, it doesn't matter. Early on, it's like you're not going to be, you don't want to be clicking. So does it mean that you're using force move all the time? That's what U is. Are you using force move so much that letter U is so important versus X? So that's a huge thing. And if people talk about how their inventory space is an issue, X is wonderful, because then you don't have to keep going to the blacksmith. You actually save time, you know? So X and U really is just, I value X. So X is huge. Yeah, X is huge. X is so huge. All right, so let's go for 15. So depending on how difficult 15 or how easy 15 is, okay, so where's my 15? 15 is W. So what is W? W is increased damage done to bosses by 25%. Now, I value that highly because I like to do zero augment pushing. Now then you would say, why don't I have P? Or is it Q? Yeah, either P or Q. Why then? Well, W is first because the Rift Guardians are harder. And I and I love zero augment pushing in the beginning. And for other people, what is W? Well, W is also for people who like to do lower Paragon pushing, especially like really, really fast early on. Like people who use their 25, 25, 25 gems. W is just gonna, it's basically picking up Stricken faster, right? Like instead of waiting for a level 25 Stricken, you pretty much get Stricken like right then, depending on how easy 15 is. Cost of 15. So if cost of 15 is easy, then zero augment pushing is going to be around. Let's say I play God DH again, and I have 15. If I have 15, and this season I did 116, if I can get W by 15, I have a feeling I can do God DH like around 118, zero augments. So so depending on your own self challenge, W being 15 is huge because it also speeds up your Rift Guardian kill depending on your build. Okay? So 16. Where's my 16? 16 is where my U is. Finally, finally I picked that. So by that time, I'm wanting to key farm a lot now because I've already done my zero augment pushing after W. I'm trying to collect as many keys as I can, and so I think speeding to reduce clicking for Death's Breath by that point is a thing.